Matt Gaetz, cocaine, underage girls, more cocaine. Let's go to the report.
Congressional investigators allege President-elect Donald Trump's former pick for Attorney General paid multiple women for sex, including a minor. The report also found he bought and used illegal drugs. The long-running investigation concluded the Trump ally violated multiple state laws. Gaetz sued today to block the release of the report. He's also denied any wrongdoing. And here with more on this is CBS News contributor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, great to see you this morning. Let's start with the evidence here. Walk us through how the committee actually supported its findings.
Well, through talking to a number of the alleged victims, through interviews, depositions, and this is how, although I want to emphasize this type of investigation is not typical, you ask for receipts, you ask for documents, and you ask for testimony. And
you got to understand what's happening here, okay? When the reporter posed the question, how did they get this information? Where did the evidence come from? Well, direct witness testimony. You see, that's admissible in a court of law. That is not hearsay. That is direct knowledge of criminal action, which is enough for probable cause, a warrant, arrest, etc. So why is Puff Daddy in jail and Gaetz not? They both should be. Underage trafficking, massive drug use, etc., etc. Put up the picture full mass. CBS News is reporting on the looming House ethics report that details Matt Gaetz, former congressman, Florida, alleging drug use, sex with a minor, which violated Florida state laws and federal laws. Gaetz is the former House Republican who recently stepped down from office after President-elect Donald Trump had the, well, he would say best judgment, nominating Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, despite a cloud hanging over his political future surrounding the previously confidential ethics report. However, a secret vote last week determined that the report would be made public, reportedly as early as Monday. Now, if you recall, the basic standing order is that if you leave Congress, it stops the investigation. So Gaetz basically left Congress hours before the investigation was set to start public disclosure. So he leaves. Well, that definitely stops the jurisdictional authority of the investigation, but it doesn't necessarily stop the release of the investigation that has been done. If he wanted to stop that, he should have resigned 2 years ago, but he did not. So they had enough information already. Now, CBS details in ethics, in an ethics investigation, found that former congressman, quote, to have paid numerous women, including a 17-year-old girl, for sex and to have purchased and used illegal drugs, including from his Capitol Hill office, according to a final draft of a comprehensive investigative report. Writer for CBS News, Michael Kaplan reports. And he says former Representative Matt Gaetz, a Florida Republican who briefly stood to become President-elect Donald Trump's nominee to be Attorney General, was found by congressional ethics investigators to have paid numerous women, including a 17-year-old girl, for sex, and to have purchased and used illegal drugs, including from his Capitol Hill office, according to a final draft of a comprehensive investigative report obtained by CBS News. So he's buying cocaine at the Capitol. He's not in jail. He's been under investigation for years. His bestie, the former tax guy in Florida, locked up. Matt Gaetz, investigation dropped. How do they know he purchased drugs at the Capitol? Because remember, if they put things in this report that are blatantly false, Well, that becomes an issue for them, all of them. So why did they do it? Well, they have good faith reason. They talked to somebody. They got some evidence, witness testimony. Maybe they spoke to the drug dealer. Maybe they looked at video. Maybe this should now be forwarded to the Attorney General's office. Oh, wait a minute, that won't matter because Trump is about to be sworn in. You see the game here. It comes out right at the time when not a damn thing will be done about it. All right. Those were among the findings of the long-running investigation by the House Ethics Committee into Gaetz, which concluded the former Florida congressman violated multiple state laws related to sexual misconduct while in office. Quote, the committee determined there is substantial evidence that Representative Matt Gaetz violated House rules and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory sexual violation, illicit drug use, impermissible gifts, special favors or privileges, and obstruction of Congress. The 37-page report concludes. Report for CBS Mornings. Scott McFarland offered more detail. This report's findings determined there is substantial evidence that Matt Gaetz had sex with a minor, engaged in rampant illicit drug use, and violated multiple state laws while in office. The report lists payments totaling more than $90,000 to 12 different women between 2017 to 2020, and alleges the money was likely connected to sexual activity and drugs, including cocaine and ecstasy. Now, it takes no rocket scientist to know that Gaetz was on cocaine. He looked like it half the time. And whatever he wants to do with his money and his body is his business. But the reality is the dynamics associated with trafficking an underage child for purposes of sex, utilizing his office in order to gain privileges and access. See, those are the things that disrupts anyone's ability or capacity or morality to represent you. Because now they're representing the interest of those who pay them or give them cocaine. All right, so the committee also obtained testimony that alleges Gaetz had sex twice with a 17-year-old girl. I want to remind you, how do you think they know that detail? The victim told the committee. The victim told the committee. She recalled receiving $400 in cash from Gaetz, which she understood to be payment for sex. Gaetz is also accused of creating a fake email from his Capitol Hill office for the purpose of purchasing marijuana and referred to drugs as party favors, rolls, and vitamins. There's more. The report did not uncover sufficient evidence of violations of federal sex trafficking laws, and Gaetz has denied any improper conduct. That just means it could substantiate it with evidence, writing last week that his behavior in his 30s may have been embarrassing, though not criminal. The former congressman refused to sit down or sit for sworn testimony, only submitting written answers to some of the committee's questions. The committee also alleged he knowingly and willfully sought to impede and obstruct the investigation. The House Ethics Committee had initially voted to keep the report under wraps after Gaetz resigned from Congress in November and withdrew as Trump's pick to be Attorney General, but they reversed that decision in a vote earlier this month. Gaetz recently announced he has taken a role at the conservative opinion network, OAN, during a weekend appearance at the TPUSA conference. Gaetz floated running for the Senate seat Marco Rubio will soon vacate in order to be a thorn in the side of lawmakers who opposed his confirmation for Attorney General. That's the spirit. That's the reason you run for office. Rubio will leave the Senate in the coming weeks to become President-elect Trump's Secretary of State. As horrible as Rubio is, this is difficult for me to say. As horrible as Rubio is, he's the most normal individual in that whole damn weirdo Trump administration. All right, Sharon, how do you see it?
I say you're correct, and this is where we are, because I'm no fan of Rubio's, and apparently you aren't either. But this is now the standard. Do you see how it lowers, and society does not benefit as a result of this? Matt Gaetz did what the report says he did. And the point you made about P. Diddy versus Matt Gaetz, I don't think it's overblown at all. It's accurate. It's accurate. One is a privileged white guy whose father bought and paid for everything he has. He hasn't worked a day in his life. The real affirmative action, who has taken on the form of his dear leader, I'll say it again, and now is about revenge and getting even instead of cleaning up his life and getting sober, like millions of proud Americans have done. This guy's a disgrace, and I don't know why they were even arguing about releasing this report. He should not do anything, including governor, senator, Florida. Ridiculous, as only a privileged white man thinks he deserves after all this.
Right. And kudos to the committee for tricking Matt Gaetz by voting to say, hey, if you leave and resign, we're going to keep this secret. Well, actually, we have the ability to vote again. And so we decided to vote a second time, and we're going to release it. He did try to block it by a court order, not successful.